Let's focus once again on COVID-19, not just the numbers, of course, but how do we start moving past this latest Omicron variant of COVID-19. India, we're hearing, is the latest country to report cases of the new Omicron variant. We know it's an issue here in South Africa. Now, the United Kingdom has come out and said they're going to give the go-ahead to a drug to treat people at high risk of developing severe disease. Now we understand this new drug could be effective against Omicron as well. Let's speak to Dr. Joe Barnes, an epidemiologist from Stellenbosch University. Dr. Barnes, good morning to you. Thanks for your time in speaking to us. And I know many people are probably going to tweet me saying I've got the name of the drug wrong, but I'm going to give it a go here. I've got no idea if this is how you would say it. It's sotrovimab or sotrovimab. I'm not sure how we will say that. I'm sure I'll be corrected at some point. But the point is, Doctor, good morning. They say this could be effective. But this is all very new to us. We don't know much about this new variant. How worried are you?
You know, I don't know much about the new drug, I have to confess, because, you know, we only know what we've seen in the media about it. But anything that can help is extremely welcome. But I'm really worried that treating severe disease is certainly a help to us, but preventing it is or damping down the severity is actually our way out of this crisis. And that comes down to vaccination, unfortunately.
It does, and we're going to talk about vaccinations in a moment, Dr. Barnes. I'm going to get your thoughts on mandatory vaccinations as well. It seems to be the new buzzword going around. Any thoughts on why we're seeing this sudden spike now? I'll tell you why I'm asking the question. I think you and I even spoke earlier in the year. We knew this expected fourth wave was coming. We knew these numbers were going to go up, and here we are, yet we all seem to be sitting back and panicking a little bit, but we knew it was going to happen.
We knew, and somehow knowing it catches a whole lot of people in charge of the countrywide reaction by surprise, which is a surprise to you and me. This new variant, you know, viruses change their outer coat as they go along all the time. Most of these changes are immaterial, and every now and then one pops up that has clinical implications. This is one of them. It seems to have started in an HIV positive person, in other words, a person with a damaged immune system that was not on HIV treatment. In South Africa, it is reported to be a person in Botswana, but it now looks as if it started higher up in Africa, maybe in Nigeria. It doesn't matter where it started. We should have expected it. This one is a little bit more efficient at spreading, but it looks like, please, I hope, not causing quite as severe disease. But the vaccinations so far is holding up to protect you not from perhaps getting something similar to seasonal flu, but keeping you out of hospital and, worse of all, out of ICU or even dying.
Absolutely. Doctor, do you have any sense whatsoever if the vaccines we've all been taking, I've been double vaccinated, so is Tumela, for example, I'm sure many people have, and I say that knowing not enough have been vaccinated. Any idea if the vaccinations we've all had, I had Pfizer, I think Tums had Pfizer as well, Omicron, is it effective against this at all, or is it simply too early to tell?
It is a bit early to tell, so I don't have a crystal ball, but so far what it looks like, it seems to be holding up, and it doesn't really matter to a certain extent what you've got. The protection that you got against the previously existing one seems to be holding out.
Yeah.
So what it does do better is it protects you better than having had COVID-19 earlier. In other words, having had the disease earlier, because this one is significantly different from the first round that we had almost a year and 3/4 ago. And you seem to be more severely affected if you rely on having had the disease and that you are now immune. You aren't.
That is a very interesting that you mentioned. This doesn't automatically mean if you had COVID-19, now you're immune to this new variant as well. So because some people, Doctor, are saying, well, I've had COVID-19, therefore I've built up a natural immunity. What you're saying is Normally, that would be the case, but because of Omicron, rather go get the double vaccination as soon as you can. Can we talk about mandatory vaccinations quickly? In your mind, is that the inevitable? Is this the discussion that all companies, all organizations, universities, schools, shops are going to be having come January? We're all going to be getting a mandatory vaccination. Where do you land on this debate, Doctor?
People seem to be classifying this as either everybody has to be forced or nobody has to be forced, which is not really true. I think it would be a very good idea to have a phased approach and start making it mandatory for people who are frontline workers or essential workers, people in the company without whom the company cannot function and will then crash to the ground, sort of thing. All of those to start making that mandatory. And once we get a lot more people with jabs in their arms, then we can slowly expand that. In Europe, there's now a serious, because they are staggering under the load, a serious idea of keeping people from using public transport or going to sports venues or whatever unless they have been vaccinated. So they are also along the path of making it mandatory. And I think that would be the way to go, because then you don't get this insane opposition on the basis of it is my free choice, because that sort of freedom ends where somebody else gets sick from that.
Doctor, from an epidemiological perspective, I want to just ask you, it's actually our viewer question from today. We've seen the numbers spiking up, and we haven't even really had many large get-togethers. Yes, we had the elections, of course, we had the July unrest. I'm talking about planned events where we're going to see large groups of people coming together. I'm sure you'll know about the Rage Matric event in Ballito and also in Plettenberg Bay. We saw a jump in numbers there. What would you recommend we do going into December, especially with everyone trying to get together and traveling at the same time? Travel restrictions? Should we be stopping large-scale gatherings? From your expert advice as an epidemiologist, will that make any significant difference?
I don't think it's going to make a difference in the long run. And it makes the population even more belligerent about it. All it does is delay the inevitable for maybe 2 weeks or so. So I wouldn't do that, but I would urge common sense. You know, we haven't had any large get-togethers yet, but we have had the start of summer, which is the largest get-together event in the country. So people have been moving around, they've been socializing more. It's the end of the school year. There's been a lot more relatively smaller, but all over the country, end of year functions for at work, etc. And it is not surprising that the numbers, even if we only had Delta, that the numbers would have been picking up by now. Now we have something that's spreading a bit more efficiently. So I would from the bottom of my heart, urge people in the country to be circumspect when they meet outdoors if it is possible, and keep up their vaccination and their personal protection.
Well, hopefully everyone is listening to Dr. Jo Barnes this morning. Doctor, it's always such a pleasure to have you on eNCA. I appreciate your time in speaking to us. Epidemiologist from University of Stellenbosch, Dr. Jo Barnes, joining us here on the South African Morning.